everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Combat Society. It's a pleasure to be back. I'm here with Tyrone, and we're going to be discussing UFC action that just passed this weekend, UFC Stockholm, and the countryman Alexander Gustafsson was representing his hometown. He unfortunately lost against Anthony Smith, revitalized Anthony Smith, and he suffered a submission loss. How did you see that one?
Yeah, it was a back and forth fight, a really interesting fight. Both early on, both seemed like they had a big chance to win the fight, but Anthony Smith did go to the grappling, which was effective for him. He was able to get the submission, as we know. And honestly, Alexander Gustafsson did retire. We do know that. He was very upset in front of his hometown. He did just hang up the gloves, literally, put them down, and said the show is over. But that's been a reoccurring thing in Gustafsson's career, that the grappling has been sort of an unknown. And we saw after he lost to John Jones that that was a real weakness, a real weakness. And Anthony Smith followed that same game plan and was successful with it. So yeah, that's my take on the fight. Unfortunate for Gustafsson, but really good for Anthony Smith.
Yeah, we saw a bit earlier in Gustafsson's career, he would usually get straight back up with the grappling, and we usually thought his grappling was, pretty high level, because he would just get back right back up from Daniel Cormier, from John Jones, and we thought it was fairly good. And we don't really know what's happened with him, where he just gets stuck there now, and he gets submitted twice in a row now. He hasn't been very successful in his hometown of Stockholm. I think he's been there 4 times, and I think he's lost 2 or 3 of them. So it's unfortunate for Alexander Gustafsson. He's been one of the guys in the division, wouldn't you say, that has been that guy right there who you got to get past him. Yeah. We've always considered him in that top level, and he's now lost against Anthony Smith, who's really revitalized himself. And we didn't think we didn't think of Anthony Smith as such a grappling kind of fighter. Like we didn't think he was going to get a submission. Yeah. If anything, maybe knockout. But he did talk about how he was a black belt after, and it stressed that he really is good on the ground.
Yeah, so as you said, Anthony Smith is a legit black belt, and you can't underestimate a black belt, even though a guy maybe doesn't get that many submissions throughout his career, even though he does have some.
Gus, I think, is a purple.
Yeah, well,
purple belt.
Even so, that's a huge difference.
That's why he's always focused on getting right back up, because maybe when he gets stuck there, it's pretty much over.
Especially against Daniel Cormier, he did get wrestled a little bit. John Jones, we know he got wrestled, and even coming into this fight with Anthony Smith, I was thinking that so they both first John Jones, and Anthony Smith went 5 rounds with Jones, and Gustafsson went 3 rounds with Jones and got finished. So I was thinking that's going to be a little bit of a factor there. If you compare them against John, you have to say maybe Anthony Smith did have the better performance against Jones, and that was a factor. So
yeah, he did go all 5.
That's right.
He stuck in there, but he was a little bit stalling a bit.
Jones was beating him up pretty bad, but wasn't able to put him away.
Yeah. What do you think of Anthony Smith going forward? Do you think he can actually work towards another title shot? Because that's the question a lot of people have been really wanting to know. Can he really get to another shot?
I don't think so. Maybe back 3-4 years ago, if you beat Gustafsson, that would have been a big deal, a real big deal. But he hasn't had, his trajectory hasn't been going up. It's been going down over the last 3-4 years after losses to obviously Jones twice, Daniel Cormier, Anthony Smith. So it's not that really big of a deal. Not enough to get you another fight with Jones at this point.
Not immediately. I'm talking about if he beats some up-and-coming guys. He might versus Ruiz. He might versus some of those.
It's possible, but I don't think... if you look at... It's possible. It definitely could happen, but not against Jones. Jones would have to leave the division, relinquish his title, and then he might get another shot. But Anthony Smith he's getting old, and he's a veteran, so I don't know how many fights he has left in him. But if he keeps winning, he'll keep fighting and keep rallying for a title shot. But to go back to Gustafsson, pretty sad that he couldn't get a win, and it seems like he didn't even really have the intention of retiring, but he just was so disappointed in himself at the end of the fight that he just med it just
could change his mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't seem like something he really thought out. It seemed like he just thought of that in the moment because he was just so disappointed. So who knows going forward if he'll have a change of heart. But I'd like to see him back in there.
Definitely want to see Gus.
Really maybe try and get a couple of wins.
Sure, I love Gustafsson. He was one of my favorite fighters. After that first Jones fight, he just showed so much heart. But yeah, we'll get into the co-main event, which was a devastating knockout to say the least. Alexander Rakic, wow, he just completely dismantled Jimmy Manuwa. We thought Manuwa was going to, have the power here and just maul him, but we saw a ridiculous head kick that put Jimmy straight out, who's suffered a few KOs now. But Rakic from Austria showed, a lot of skill in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of those highlight reel knockouts that'll just go down on that guy's highlight reel for the rest of his career as one of the better knockouts that we've ever seen. And the guy's pretty young still. He's
27.
He's got like 12 wins, 1 loss, or something like that. Yeah, so he's definitely up and coming. Jimmy Manuwa's
this guy could be the next thing.
Jimmy Manuwa's not really, he's up and down. He's just there. As we say with these guys,
he's old. He's gotten old, and he started late in his career. But a good win nonetheless for Rakic because the light heavyweight division seems to be getting a bit of traction with the likes of Ruiz, with the likes of Santos, Johnny Walker, Rakic. There's a new there's like this new wave. So maybe this can revitalize the light heavyweight division.
Yeah. Well, what would be unfortunate for these guys is if they fight Jones, if they try and get the title shot too soon.
Yeah.
The best, honestly, for these guys, these up and coming guys that you just mentioned, the best thing would be to wait for Jones to leave the division, which will go up to heavyweight at some point, and then rally for title shots. Because if you're coming up against Jones, especially when you're that young and you're not that experienced, you're not going to get a win against him. The best thing would be to just keep fighting these guys, keep getting wins, getting more experience, then fight for the title if it's a possibly vacant title. But I feel like Jones is not really interested in these guys anyway. He wants to clean the top half of the division out. He's not really worried with the bottom half. But once he does that, he'll be out.
Yeah. Jones has a lot of options. Like if he can get rid of Thiago Santos, look, he can verse any of these young guys. And I think what is actually going to happen is he might verse these young guys because he just wants to keep fighting and fighting and fighting. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these young kids comes in and just puts it up against Jones. But yeah, for the UFC Stockholm card, wasn't that stacked. Not many fights to talk about on this card. It just, it's one of those cards we wait for, UFC 238, which we're going to speak about right now, which is in Chicago, I believe. It's Cejudo versus Moraes. We're going to give a detailed predictions on some of these fights. Look, this is a pretty stacked card nonetheless, but not huge names, but they're definitely good fights you want to see.
Definitely some good fights.
So this one's in Chicago, as we said, 2 title fights on the line. We love having 2 title fights. We've got men and women fighting, a lot of women's fights. So we're going to really see the quality of the women talent in the UFC in this card. But first we'll get into the UFC bantamweight titles on the line. And a lot of people I've been hearing have been really downplaying Cejudo in this fight and giving Marlon Moraes a real good shot at taking this one.
Yeah.
What do you think in this one? Not really giving your prediction, but what do you really just think how this fight's going to go?
Look, Moraes has had some really good performances, and he's got a lot of momentum behind him.
He's got huge power, huge explosiveness.
Absolutely. And but you can't get on the hype trains. Like, this is what happens, man. Every time you get a proven champion, you get these guys that just come out. Like, he's good. I'm not saying he's not good. Moraes is very good, but you have to always. I always go with the champion in this case because he's the one who's proven. He's the one who's beat these guys. Henry's beat Demetrius. He's beat TJ, knocked out TJ. These are massive wins, and you can't overlook that. I think you just can't. You can't go with the hype on this one. In my opinion, you have to go with Henry. I just believe he's more skilled, and Moraes has a lot of power, yes.
Good submissions, though. What we saw against Asancia in his last, when he submitted him, just put him on the ground, put him on his bottom, and just submitted him instantly. So I'm thinking, that's really dangerous for Henry. He's really good at wrestling, but gets put on his bottom and subbed. That's what Moraes loves. He loves to get you on the ground and put the pressure and sub.
Yeah,
or knock you out. He can do it all. They can both really do a lot of these.
They both can. I think Henry's. I think you say Ruiz is explosive. He is. I think Henry's more explosive. He is explosive, and he's very tactical as well.
These kids have a lot of muscle on them. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
A lot of power, a lot of muscle. It's crazy. This one.
And Ruiz as well. You say he's got subs. We know that. But what are the chances that he really takes down Henry and submits him? It's like very low. It's not
a takedown. I reckon it's more of like a bang, get you to the ground, maybe, sub you.
But even then, that would be... How often do Olympic gold medalists get submitted? It doesn't happen. There's only...
Well, he's the only gold.
He's the only gold medalist, but in terms of other guys who've competed in the Olympics,
well,
they don't really
the
get
wrestlers
submitted.
Rely on their wrestling. They don't really have the BJJ game, which I've never seen Cejudo's BJJ game.
I don't think he needs it in this fight. I think if he gets to the ground, he will be able to control him on the floor. I believe he will be able to do that. And they always said that TJ couldn't be taken down or he couldn't be hit. And Henry was able to do that, and they said the same for Demetrius. They said Demetrius he won't be able to get taken down. He's just too explosive. He's too quick, and he got taken down and controlled for the whole fight.
So who are you predicting for this one?
I believe Henry's gonna win this fight.
Yeah,
for all those reasons that I've just said.
Look, I said a lot of things in favor of Marlon. I really like Marlon's game. He's very well rounded, just high level BJJ game for MMA and really good power. And he hits you with shots. He hits people with a lot of shots, a lot of power. But I am going to go with Henry Cejudo. Nonetheless, I think Henry Cejudo is too talented. He beat a TJ Dillashaw that was cheating.
Yeah,
that's right. He beat Demetrius Johnson, split decision. I thought it was unanimous, but he beat these guys who were some of the best ever.
Mm.
You know, we said TJ was now the best bantamweight. Some people were saying that. And he beat the best flyweight of all time. So... Look, I'm picking Henry Cejudo in this one, but I do see this a close victory, and I don't see. Look, if it goes to decision, I'm saying Henry Cejudo. But if this one goes, if someone's going to get stopped, I'm thinking it's Henry. I think it's going to be Henry if someone is stopped. But I think it's most likely going to go to decision. So that's going to be a great card. I'm predicting that. Actually, I won't predict that to be the performance of the night. Another fight will be performance of the night, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
We'll get to the co-main event. Women's flyweight championship is on the line. We got Valentina Shevchenko, the flyweight champ, versus Jessica Ai. Now, this one, I don't think you can look into it too much because I think Shevchenko's got this one in the bag. I can't see her getting beat by Jessica Ai. Jessica Ai just hasn't done enough, and people that are coming up against Shevchenko right now that nobody's really deserving for this title shot. Jessica Ai hasn't beat any really high-level fighters. So I think Shevchenko, she dominated Joanna. And I think she could finish Jessica Ai. I really think she could finish Jessica Ai.
I have to agree with that as well. As you said, there's not much to say about it. It's just this isn't just another title challenger for Valentina. We believe she's gonna win this fight pretty easily.
Yeah, both of us do.
As you say, Jessica Ai is one of those fighters that you hear the name a lot, but they haven't really done anything. And that the only reason that is because there's not many people in there's not many fighters in the women's division, so these names get thrown around so often that we just don't.
She's on a 3-fight win streak. But before that, she lost 4 in a row, and her last 3 fights have all been decisions: 2 split, 1 unanimous. So she's not like destroying her opponents or anything. So I don't think you can really put her in Shevchenko's league. She's grinded her whole career. She's had a lot of fights in the UFC. She's lost more fights, she's lost more fights in the UFC than she's won. And look, Shevchenko's, I think, is going to maul this.
She's a beast, yeah.
I think she's going to maul her.
Yeah.
Just with the wrestling's great, the striking's superb. She's a big girl. So
absolutely, yeah. She's got some shoulders on her. She's tall and she's got some good striking, some good kicks, punches. She puts them together well. She really puts it together well.
That's how she beat Joanna. She just fundamentally beat her in every aspect.
Yeah.
And I see her retaining the title. Now we're going to get on to the performance of the night. I think we both believe this will be performance of the night. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Good. Oh, this one is amazing. Tony Ferguson versus Donald Cerrone. Wow. I love this fight. Tony Ferguson coming back, looking healthy, mentally and physically, coming back and fighting Donald Cerrone, who is just wowing everybody at the moment. His career is has its downs and he's straight back up. He's lost 3-4 in a row, then he wins 4 in a row, and now he's fighting Tony Ferguson, which if he can beat Tony Ferguson, wow, I cannot. I would be amazed if Donald Cerrone can actually get through Tony, who's one of the most durable fighters that we've ever seen in the UFC.
Yeah.
This one's going to be unreal.
Yeah.
What do you see in this fight?
This one's a hard one. This one's a very hard one to call, simply because of the fact that if you look at both sides, Tony Ferguson, he's a dog, man. Like he gets in there. He's hard to put away. He comes at you. He just keeps coming at you. He takes shots. He comes at you. And Donald he's not really like that. He's not really a dog, but he's more technical. But we haven't really seen him against somebody who's got the forward pressure. I believe that Donald Cerrone sort of thrives when he can really get early momentum, and he can really just keep his distance and land strikes. I don't see this fight going to the floor. I don't think Donald would even attempt a takedown. Tony might, but we don't know. I think it might just stay on the feet. But
it's a 3-rounder. It's going to be explosive, quick.
Yeah.
It's going to be quick. It's going to be.
If I was to play this out in my mind, the way I think this fight would go, I think just Tony's going to back him down, overwhelm him with just pressure. Tony will be copying shots. So will Donald. But
I could see it. I could also, in how I've envisioned it, I can see a sub from Tony. I could see a nice DAS. I could see him locking in a nice sub.
It's
if
definitely
it
possible.
hits the mat, he gets him to the ground with a shot and then locks something up. I can definitely see that happening if I do. How do you see Donald Cerrone's route to victory?
He has to avoid the close fighting. He has to keep his distance, land some nice kicks to the body, to the legs, just wear him out a bit, because Tony's going to keep coming at you. And if you let him get in your space, he's going to land shots. He'll take shots, and he'll take big shots. Donald might even land his best shots on Tony, not be able to put him away. And that's really going to that could take a big toll on Donald, thinking that I can't put this guy away. When you start to panic against Tony, the pressure and the panicking, he can do anything to you after that.
So who do you see taking it and getting their hand raised?
I feel like Tony will. He's had a bit of a layoff, but he looked really good against Pettis. Donald Cerrone's looked really good as well, but it's a slight edge to Tony for me.
Yeah, I love these two fighters. It's hard to pick, but I think Tony Ferguson will get his hand raised and continue to basically whatever that streak is. What's his streak at right now? It's at like 10, 11, 12?
I think
like
also
that.
Just to add as well, Donald Cerrone really excels against guys who are sort of predictable. He can really pick you apart if you're really predictable with your movements. And Tony's definitely not predictable. He throws crazy.
Yeah.
He's just throwing crazy stuff at you. He's hard to predict. And Donald thrives when he can predict you, because then he can counter you, because he wants to counter. He wants to land big counters, and it's going to be hard for him to land counters on Tony. So that's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good fight. I cannot wait for this one, and it's so close. That could be the best. That's probably going to be the best fight of the night. I can see that just being all out war.
And then also, when you're talking potential what could happen after this fight, the winner of this fight could possibly be fighting for the next. The winner of this fight's either fighting Conor, or the winner of this fight's either fighting Khabib or Dustin after that fight's happened. For sure. If Tony wins, he has to get the next title shot. Or fight Conor. There's no other fight for him.
He'll go to one championship and just screw the UFC.
Well,
doesn't get a title shot.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if he wins this fight, the fans will be in uproar.
Sometimes you need to make a statement, and you need to just say, "F you, UFC."
That's the thing. This sometimes,
if they don't give you a title shot after that,
this sometimes happens where you got the long running guy who's been in the division, really putting in the hard yards, getting wins, and then you get a guy like Donald coming up, getting really, just re-entering the division after fighting at welterweight for a while, re-entering the division with momentum and just really taking that spot away from him. And it does happen. So, yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, and we'll quickly go through the last few fights that we think are big. We like Jimmy Rivera, bantamweight, and Peter Yan. Peter Yan's got heaps of hype around him. People are sleeping on Rivera, but this one's a close one as well. I'm really surprised that this fight is actually not on the preliminary card, and Aljamain Sterling versus Pedro Munoz is not on the main card. I don't see why that is not the case. Aljamain just came off beating Jimmy Rivera, and he's got his spot in the main event.
Yeah.
And Pedro Munoz just beat Cody Munoz by crazy knockout. So... yeah, sorry, what did I say?
Cody Munoz.
Yeah, so Cody Garbrandt, he just beat him. So I'm not sure why that's the case. Why he's been put on the preliminary, and they're going to go at a war. Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
But Jimmy Rivera, Peter Yan, I'm going to pick Jimmy Rivera's going to win, even though Peter Yan's got all the hype. We've also got Tai Tuivasa fighting Blagoy Ivanov. Sorry, this is a tough name. Ivanov. He's Australian. He's a big hitter. We love Tuivasa. We love the Aussies.
He's coming off a loss against Santos.
Yep, Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah, lost to him, but was a good fight. We want to see Tai Tuivasa win.
Yeah.
We're representing Australian.
Well, we don't want to see anyone win. We want the best fighter to win, but we do like when Aussies win, right?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we do like when Aussies win.
We're not biased, I swear.
we want to see Aussies do well, but the best fighter will win here, and I'm seeing Tuivasa win. I can't see it going any other way. I believe it's going to be a KO in this one. What about you?
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think a KO in this one for Tai Tuivasa. After that unfortunate loss to Junior Dos Santos, he's coming back in Chicago, so we'll see how the Aussie goes. And we've also got Aljamain Sterling versus Pedro Munoz, who I think... Wow, this is a hard one to predict. Really hard. Aljamain likes the wrestling these days and the BJJ from Matt Serra. Yeah. Munoz is going to come out and swing bombs, straight bombs.
I'm leaning towards Aljamain Sterling, honestly. I am leaning towards him simply because, he's got Munoz has got power, but he beat Garbrandt. He was lucky.
They just swung for the fences.
He just swung for the fence. Like he was, as you say, I think the win was partly due to Garbrandt's mistake and not. I don't want to take anything away from him, but it was really Garbrandt's mistake there, not fighting at his full potential and getting silly. But he's still a really good competitor. But I believe Aljamain Sterling is a bit more skilled.
I think he'll be a bit more patient. Utilize the wrestling, take it to the ground and pound will be his strategy in this one. Yeah. That's all the fights for UFC 238. Great card. What do you think? What do you think of this one? You think it's going to be a thriller?
It's got the potential to really be one of the better cards we've seen. It is lacking the start. Well, not really. I believe that Tony Ferguson.
There's Kowalkiewicz is also on this. Yeah. Ricardo Lamas.
I'm really excited for Henry Cejudo and Tony Ferguson and Tuivasa as well. Yeah. Those three fights are the ones I'm really tuning in for. And
all the main card's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Solid.
It's just not full of crazy talent.
It's solid.
Which is okay. That's what you got to do sometimes. But it's two title fights.
This Ferguson and Cerrone fight, that's a real fighter's fight, man. That's a good fight.
Yeah.
That. If you're a real MMA fan, you love this fight. This is one of the best fights they could possibly make in the lightweight division. That's a crazy fight, and the Henry Cejudo chance to be in his mind a triple champ, as he likes to call it, because he's got the Olympic gold medal, and then he'll also have the flyweight championship and if he wins the bantamweight as well. So that'll be a milestone. We've never seen that before.
So now we're going to talk about some of the other fights that were on during the weekend, and it was a bit of boxing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so Andy Ruiz knocked out Anthony Joshua, which is one of the biggest upsets in boxing history, probably in sports history.
Definitely. Those odds were crazy for Andy Ruiz to win. It was like 25-1 on some. It was...
It's probably, I think the highest odds were Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, which was like 47-1, and Buster Douglas got the win there. But Andy Ruiz, great performance, just came in with a Mexican style, just landing big shots and not giving him any space. Was able to drop him a total of 4 times throughout the fight, and the guy's a really humble guy. He's been in the heavyweight. He's been a staple of the heavyweight division for ages now. And this was like a mandatory fight for Anthony Joshua. It's possibly he sort of overlooked him and underestimated him a bit. And that's what happens in heavyweights.
Or he got cursed by Drake, if you've seen the photo.
That's the thing, yeah. We can put that up as well. But really good performance. There's going to be a rematch because there's a rematch clause in the contract. But this is the kind of thing you get in boxing when you have all these promoters. Like the good thing about the UFC, or any organization, MMA, it's controlled by one organization, and the best guys fight the best guys. Now, with boxing, you got all these promoters like Eddie Hearn, who's one of the biggest slime balls out there. Honestly, they're scared of Wilder. They're scared of Fury. They don't want to fight the big fights. And then you fight you fight the mandatory fight.
And they pad their records.
And that's it. You're just fighting these guys for some reason just to get to milk the money out of it. And then you get a guy against like Andy Ruiz who's hungry and wants the title and will do anything to fight and win. And that's what happens. You get knocked out. And it's really unfortunate because who knows if we'll see Joshua versus Wilder, which is what people wanted to see, or Joshua versus Fury. But out of those three, honestly, Wilder's the only guy that's really keen to fight. He'll fight anybody. But there's hold-ups on the other side for all these guys. There's just something wrong with them.
It's a real problem because in MMA, anybody will just fight anybody. Some people
this
will,
literally would never happen in MMA if you had if you had this at the top of the division and the top three guys just don't want to fight each other. It's just weird, man. And that's the downfall of boxing. That's why MMA is eclipsing boxing, honestly. Eclipsing
Definitely.
it because they put a better product. We don't hear about these boxing fights until a week before we know Joshua's fighting somebody, Wilder's fighting somebody. They don't promote their fighters at all.
It's terrible promotion.
There's no.
They make for some reason they make more money because they're singular people, but like it's I don't know. It's just silly. It's just how they do it. People don't know about the fight. Not enough people know about it. ESPN's got MMA and they're killing it now.
Yeah, well, the top fighters get paid a lot.
Yeah,
the top fighters in boxing get paid, crazy amounts. But these guys on the undercard aren't getting paid anything. Honestly, UFC fighters probably per card are getting paid total more money than the boxing fights. Maybe the top fighters are getting millions, but the rest of them are getting nothing. But in the UFC, it's spread evenly across the whole card, and that's why you just get better fights as well. It's just. We don't have to wait, 3 years for a fight. We don't have to wait for it.
Yeah, we have to. How long do we wait for Floyd?
Yeah.
And Pacquiao.
That's the thing. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to follow it. Number one, it's hard to follow it because you got 5 different divisions with who knows about the. Does anybody know who the 8th ranked super middleweight is in the world, or the junior light heavyweight, or whatever they are? It's just not clear. It's just not clear. And you got these promoters who don't want to make fights, so that's what you get, honestly.
Yeah, that's why, that's what you get. MMA is eclipsing boxing, as you said. Joe Rogan said that from the start many years ago.
He did.
But hopefully we could see some good boxing fights. We just want to see good boxing fights because, we like the sport. We do like boxing as well as all combat sports.
I'm not hating on boxing. I like boxing as a sport. It's one of the very good sport. But the politics behind it and the people running it is that's what's ruining it, man.
Definitely.
That's what's ruining it for sure. If you want to be a successful sport, you have to do it like the other leagues. You have to become a league like the NBA, like the NFL, like the MLB, like the UFC that's trying to do that. You have to be a league, and it's just a free for all in boxing. So that's all I'll say on it. Yeah,
I agree a lot with what you said. But now we're going to get into. Besides boxing, we're going to talk about what people have said on the internet, how they feel. We're going to discuss some things, give our opinions, our take on some matters. I've got them up here. We're going to talk about, this is the first one. So you're stuck in the octagon with a current UFC champion, 155 pounds or higher, until you land one punch to the face. Who do you choose to fight? So basically, if you can land a shot on them in their face, you can leave the octagon. I'm gonna say Khabib on this one, and the reason I'm picking Khabib is because look, you're gonna get taken down, most definitely. But while you're on the ground, you might be able to get a little shot in. I don't think against the other guys that really are in the UFC, the champions, you can get a shot on them. I feel like they could just. I don't know, that you could just keep them at distance or they'll keep you at distance and then you won't be able to land anything on them.
You reckon Khabib?
Yeah, Khabib.
I would probably say like Henry Cejudo or something, just because like he's so
155 pounds or higher.
It has to be above? Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise I would have picked Henry Cejudo because he's just so small.
Yeah.
Oh my, so probably Khabib or like Usman or something, just somebody with not good striking, but obviously the chance of that ever happening is 0. So yeah.
That was a good answer. Who are some people that you like to see change weight classes? I think a bit until moving up would be super interesting. They'd be completely different fighters if they have to borderline kill if they don't have to borderline kill themselves in order to make weight. Yeah, this is a big issue. So, look, some fighters that I think would really be good if they just moved up. Robert Whittaker, the Australian, cut some weight. He's had some injuries, had some problems. I just feel like his body would be better at light heavyweight. I think he can be a real threat. He's kind of small, but I feel like his talent mixed with his defensive wrestling, I feel like it would be a problem for Jones, some other guys, Gustafsson, Anthony Smith. It'd be a real big problem. So he's one. And then the next one would have to be Brian Ortega, who cuts 40 pounds, ridiculous amount. I think him at lightweight would be a real treat. I think he'd really do some, he'd do all right in the lightweight division. What about you?
Probably lean towards like Yoel Romero if he wants to keep fighting. We don't know, but I think his chances of a title shot at middleweight's pretty low. He's already fought Robert Whittaker many times. Yeah. Probably not. Maybe he could fight against Israel, but if he went up to light heavyweight, I reckon he could beat a lot of those guys, honestly. Because Romero does cut a huge amount of weight also. He misses weight quite often. If he went up to... He could be a real test for Jones. I truly believe that. And for my second fighter, who I'd like to see go up, I'd like to see Khabib go up, honestly. That'd be really good. If he went up to... I want to see if he... Not for any other reason other than just to test his skills out at the heavier weight.
Yeah.
There's some really good fights for him up in... There's some good fights in lightweight, obviously. But if he can beat these guys at lightweight...
Even an Askren fight would be cool.
That'd be crazy. I'd love to see him against Askren. Just see if the wrestling skills transfer with the heavier weight. If he fought at welterweight, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. I didn't think about that one. I really wanted to see. This is another question. Comment. I really wanted to see Gus take on the next generation like Walker, Rakic, Reyes. I'm sad, but I guess it's for the best if he doesn't have it in him anymore. Yeah, I would have loved to see that too because he's like he's the guy there. He's the guy up there, but. You shouldn't fight if you just have lost it. If you're losing to Anthony Smith and you nearly beat John, and you're losing by submission to Smith, maybe it isn't right for you.
Absolutely, got to agree with that as well. If he wants to retire, he should retire. No one should force him.
If you get the thought of retiring, you should probably retire.
But if I'm thinking maybe that his retirement wasn't really a retirement. It was just him really upset because he was really upset. Just really disappointed and might have been just spur of the moment,
Yeah,
but
can happen.
If he truly wants to stick to his guns, then he should. Yeah,
cool. And another person said, as a main event, a card would be Adesanya versus Whittaker for the main event, and Volkanovski versus the winner of Holloway and Edgar as the which would be really good. And they're saying that would be in Australia because of the trouble that we've had in Australia to get a good card.
Good card, yeah.
Yeah, so all the trouble that we've had, put these on there, see if they can happen. Finally, it would be amazing if we brought that to Australia.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah, it'd be good. Volkanovski, Aussie, Israel,
New Zealander, Whittaker,
Aussie, New Zealander. That'd be a good card, a really good card. Yeah, and the Aussie fans would love that.
Yeah, of course, and we hope that would.
There might be a Sydney card coming at the end of the year.
Yeah, that might be the one
they've been talking about
a
Sydney card. So, yeah.
Someone start a petition to make Cowboy versus Ferguson 5 rounds. Wow. Yeah, I would love to see this 5 rounds. It's a shame that it's 3. It's really a shame. We're not going to get to see 5 rounds of these two animals go at it.
Yeah, obviously. That can't happen because there's already a main and co-main, but to get the most out of this, we'd love to. Ferguson is a guy who you want to. For him, he wants to fight 5 rounds. I think because he can outpace you. He's got better cardio, so the later it goes, the just more stronger he gets, and the weaker you get. But Donald also has a great cardio also. So yeah, just with this 3 rounder, it just means that they're going to have to go harder for 3 rounds, and we might see a bit more action. A bit more action because these guys know they're
could turn
rounds.
Out better,
Yeah, it could. There's a higher chance of a knockout, I believe, in 3 rounds. 5 rounds usually you don't get knockouts, but you do get them, but you don't. If it goes past the 3rd round, it's usually a decision. But now that these fighters know they got 3 rounds, they got to make it happen. And if
maybe want to finish them.
If you're down 2 rounds, you're going to really go hard in the 3rd round, try and get the finish. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do the last question now. Frankie Edgar has nothing to lose from this title shot. If he beats Holloway, then he is a champion and vindicates himself. If he loses, he can just move down to bantamweight, and the UFC will give him another title shot. for no reason. So this is kind of like they're joking. And then obviously he's not going to go down to bantamweight and get a title shot.
I don't know if the guy's joking. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Nah, he wouldn't. He's taking the piss out of it because, Frankie, in my opinion, he doesn't deserve the shot, but I don't think anyone deserves anything. I think you're just in the right place at the right time. But if you're going to say who deserves it, Frankie definitely doesn't deserve it after beating Cub Swanson. You know what I mean? Like, He lost to Brian Ortega, then beat Cub Swanson. Now he's got a title shot for some reason when Volkanovski has won like seven in a row. So, look, I don't believe in deserving it. If you're in the right place at the right time like he was, then that's what you get. And look, he has nothing to really lose here. He's got a title shot out of nothing. And if he beats Holloway, he's the champ. And he'll go down in the history books as, one of the best champions ever. He's already been a champ before of lightweight. So, look, winning 2 belts.
It's good, but
You're laughing.
As you said, if he loses, he's not going to go down and get a title shot.
Yeah.
That's it for him. If he loses, he's old now. That's his last chance. He finally got the title shot he's been trying to get for years in that featherweight division. If he gets a loss here, probably time to hang it up, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Frankie Edgar, as we said, he won the lightweight title, went down to featherweight. He's been trying to get that, couldn't get it. Now he's got it, so he better take, he better take it.
Yeah.
Better take this chance because Max Holloway is, he's down right now. He could be on the decline. This could be the time to get him.
You never know.
Could be the time.
Possible.
But yeah, those are all the questions we had. We'd love for you to leave some questions and comments in, the comment section. But yeah, we've got one of the biggest cards coming up this weekend, and we're going to check back in following once we have all the results.
Yep.
We're going to talk about it. There's big cards after that. We've got. I believe it's Moicano versus Korean Zombie. So wow,
big.
I love watching Korean Zombie nearly beat.
Yep.
He's been improving even though he got knocked out. So it's going to be wonderful to see all these results come through. But yeah, that's the Combat Society show. It has been a pleasure. Make sure to check us out on all of our social medias. They'll be posted in the description. And have a good one. Catch ya.